Before I go on to this video, I just want to forewarn you that this video may contain spoilers, so if you haven't read the book and or seen any of the movie versions I'm going to discuss here in this video, I advise you to proceed with caution. Thank you very much. On to my film video review. A man watches 8 different film and TV adaptations of Little Women. That man is me. Hello everyone, this is Ben Koeberle here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button for new content every week on this channel. Thank you for joining me today. In my previous video, I discussed my thoughts on reading Little Women. In this video, I will be revealing my thoughts on the 8 film and TV adaptations I watched after perusing this book. I will not be discussing both the 1917 and 1918 film versions, since both, sadly, are considered lost. I sure would love to go back in time to rescue these lost films and see them now in 2020. Wouldn't you? I will be going in chronological order, starting with the 1933 film version. And here with me today is my notes to get me through this video, so bear with me. So the 1933 film version is considered a classic film by many classic film lovers. It was one of the early major breakout roles for the film's leading actress, Katharine Hepburn. I felt Katharine Hepburn gave a very good performance in this movie. She definitely has a lot of similarities with herself and the character Jo March that she portrays in this particular film adaptation. Both Hepburn and March, the character Jo March, they're both from New England region. Katharine Hepburn, she was born and raised in Connecticut, whereas the character Jo March was born and raised in Massachusetts. But still, as you know, Connecticut and Massachusetts, they're both in New England, they're both in the same region. A thing that I liked, that struck me about this movie, is the quaint, sentimental score. Yes, the score is quaint and sentimental, but I like it, and I think listening to the score during the opening credits and during certain parts of the movie got me into the mindset and the mood for this particular story at hand. Another thing that really struck me about it is among the supporting cast, the actor who played Laurie, the male love interest, Douglas Montgomery. Douglas Montgomery portrayed Laurie, the male love interest here. A few years ago, I saw a film that he did called Waterloo Bridge. Waterloo Bridge was released in 1931. He starred opposite in that movie with he starred opposite Mae Clarke in that particular film. It's a pre-code film from 1931. I remember enjoying and liking that film a lot, so it was nice to see him in that movie and then see him recently in this much wholesome movie, I would say, even though this is a pre-code film too. It's a more wholesome film from that era, Little Women is. But it was definitely nice to see him in this role, I would say, from his role in Waterloo Bridge. Overall, while I don't consider this film adaptation to be the best one, I would say I still enjoyed and liked this film a lot. Yes, Beth's death scene was a bit rushed. I felt when the film got to the last 20 minutes, I felt they were like, okay, we gotta find a way to kill off Beth now. We gotta find a way to kill off Beth now. We gotta get to that part already. And then the ending was a bit rushed with Jo and Professor Bear's reunion at the end there. But I get it, with most film adaptations, they always end with Jo and Professor Bear reuniting, but I would have loved to see more, I would have loved to see another 10 to 15 minutes about what happened to them after they went into the house and they started their lives together. So overall, while I don't consider this the best film adaptation of Little Women, I still liked it to an extent, and like all the other adaptations, I still respect it in a lot of ways and appreciate it. Anyway, from the 1933 film version, which was in black and white and a early talkie film version, we now go on to the 1949 film version of Little Women. Now, the 1949 film version was the first one to be done in color, in Technicolor, of all things. I will say this, I am a bit biased because this movie is from my childhood. I don't know why I had such a huge urge to see this movie when I was younger, but I remember watching this movie over and over and over and over and over again. I don't know why. I don't know, so fixated on a movie about 4 sisters during and after the American Civil War. Beats me. But now that I recently read the book for the first time, it was nice to go back and see this movie, and I think now that I'm older, I definitely appreciate this film adaptation a lot more. I like the cast. I definitely liked June Allison's portrayal of Jo here. I feel like when you read the book and then you watch this film version of Little Women, you definitely feel that June Allison did a good job capturing the characteristics, the spirit, and the tone of Jo from the novel here on screen. I like that very much. The cast is also really nice. It was nice to see Elizabeth Taylor here as Amy. It's interesting seeing her in a blonde wig, because as we all know, she always had very dark hair. She was a brunette most of her life. So it was interesting to see her here as a blonde, portraying Amy. And I definitely think there's actually a couple lines that she says that made me laugh that I thought were very witty. And I actually think she did a very good job here, Elizabeth Taylor did, in her performance as Amy March. Another thing that struck me was seeing Janet Leigh as Meg, who this is one of her earliest film roles, and it's interesting to think how 11 years after this film came out, she would star in one of her most iconic remembered roles in Psycho. There's that very infamous shower scene in that movie, but this is definitely a way more wholesome film and role than Psycho, you could say. But the color is very nice. I definitely do think the color is very beautiful in this film. The costumes are nice to look at. The sets are nice to look at too. The casting is very interesting too, because you also have Margaret O'Brien as Beth. Now Margaret O'Brien, she's one of the most famous child actors during the 1940s at the time, and luckily she's still alive. She's still with us right now as we speak, which is really nice. Fortunately, she's one of the only remaining cast members from that particular film. I hope I don't jinx anything. Sorry, Margaret O'Brien. But what was interesting about when I was doing my research on Little Women was I found out that in the book, Beth is older than Amy. But when they were making this version, they decided to switch the birth order, Amy being older than Beth, because the MGM wanted Margaret O'Brien for this particular role, for this particular production. Because back in the days of the MGM studio system, when they cast movies, they always plucked stars out of their star studio system for roles in all of their films. So a lot of the actors you see in this film version were from the MGM studio lot. So I thought that was a very fascinating fact there about the casting of this particular movie. But yeah, I would say while I don't consider this the best film adaptation of Little Women, I did like this movie a lot, and I appreciate it, and I understand it. It's not the most faithful, literal adaptation, but I would say the positives pretty much outweigh the negatives here in this film version. Anyway, from here we now go on to the 1970 television version of Little Women. Now, back in 1970, BBC did a television version of Little Women. It ran about 3.5 hours long. You can probably find it online somewhere, find it at your public library, local library, or on YouTube or wherever you can stream it. But while this is considered one of the more faithful adaptations of Little Women, because it runs for about 3.5 hours long, so you get a lot of time to explore the story from the book, because the book is 400 to 500 pages long. Ironically, I don't consider this the best one in my opinion. Again, these are all my opinions, so take it as you will, I would say. But yeah, I don't consider this the best adaptation I've seen of Little Women. I do feel it kind of dragged during certain parts, especially the last hour. It sort of dragged at the end. But one interesting note that I wrote down about this is after I got done watching the 1970 BBC miniseries of Little Women, I did find out Angela Down, the actress who plays Jo in this particular production, was also Princess Maria in War and Peace, which is cool because 3 years ago I not only read War and Peace, I watched all of the adaptations I could find of War and Peace, and I remember watching the 1972 BBC miniseries of War and Peace, and Angela Down, she was in that particular miniseries. That was the miniseries that starred a very young, a very unknown Anthony Hopkins as Pierre, so I thought that was very fascinating, discovering that. Imagine that. One positive I will say about this adaptation of Little Women is they remembered the parrot. A lot of adaptations I noticed, they always tend to leave out the parrot, so it was nice to see the parrot in this one. They always leave out Aunt March's parrot for some reason in a bunch of adaptations, but it was nice to see the parrot in this one. So overall, while I don't consider this the best adaptation of Little Women, it was very interesting to watch. You know, here you have all these British actors portraying characters as American as Louisa May Alcott and the characters she wrote in her book. So it was very interesting, and you know, I give them credit, you know, for tackling this story, and I don't think the accent work was as bad. I know a major criticism of the 1970 miniseries is their accent work, but personally for me, it didn't bother me as much. I thought the accents were not too bad, not too shabby in this adaptation of Little Women, so there are my thoughts on that particular production. Now we go on to another TV movie adaptation of Little Women. This time it's from 1978, and it was from here in the States. It was a 2-part, 3 to 3.5 hour miniseries of Little Women. It starred Susan Dey from The Partridge Family as Jo. It had Meredith Baxter Birney as Meg. It had Eve Plum, who everyone probably best remembers as Jan from the Brady Bunch, as Beth. But yeah, there are some aspects and some elements that I did like about this particular TV adaptation, but I don't consider this the best one. I do think it's slightly above the 1970 BBC adaptation. But yeah, I wouldn't consider it the best one. I think one of my major criticisms about this adaptation of Little Women is the house looked too much like one from a 1990 CW series. I don't know why. When I was watching the 1978 one, hear me now, when I saw the house that they lived in, I thought, this house looks like something out of a 1990 CW series. Like, wait 20 years and it would be the perfect house for a show of that ilk. But a thing that struck me about this TV movie, I should say, adaptation of Little Women is Brie Larson reminded me of a young Susan Dey. When I was watching this film adaptation of Little Women, all I kept thinking was, Brie Larson reminds me so much of Susan Day. And I think in an alternate universe, I could see Brie Larson as Jo in an adaptation of Little Women. I could see her, but probably won't happen now, and who knows, maybe she's not interested in those kind of roles. But just something I wanted to throw out there, get off my chest here on this video. But yeah, another interesting thing to note is William Shatner played Professor Bear. Nice, interesting to see William Shatner, of all people, as Professor Bear. But yeah, I like this film adaptation, even though I don't consider it the greatest, but that's okay. Again, these are all my opinions, to each their own. So from the 1978 version, we will now go on to the 1994 movie version of Little Women. Now, this is considered one of the most famous adaptations of Louisa May Alcott's beloved novel. We got Winona Ryder as the main character Jo. We got Trini Alvarado, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, as Meg. We have Claire Danes as Beth. You have Kirsten Dunst as a very young Amy, and then Samantha Mathis plays her as a young woman. You have Susan Sarandon playing Marmee. It was interesting to see Susan Sarandon in this particular role. And I thought I kind of got a kick out of that one scene where here she is, this mid-19th century mother and housewife and whatever, and she's talking about corsets and how they constrict women. It's a very interesting scene there. Again, I hope none of you are taking this the wrong way. I just thought that was a very interesting moment in this particular production here. But I wrote down I liked how they developed Jo and Bear's relationship more than other film adaptations. I feel like a lot of times with a lot of these adaptations, they tend to skim over their relationship quite a bit. But this time what I liked is they were able to develop the relationship even further. And another interesting thing to point out about this version with Winona Ryder is they do mention about how Jo and her family are transcendentalists. The Alcott family, as you may or may not know, were transcendentalists, and Alcott definitely applied a lot of her beliefs into her writing, I feel. But yeah, I would say I definitely like this film version a lot. The score and the music to this film is so beautiful, and some of the imagery and the shots are nice to look at, definitely, I would say. I liked how they kind of took time and tried to include all of the main characters' storylines into this particular film. I wish it was longer. I know that's like a major criticism of mine with these adaptations. I wish they had spent 10 to 15 more minutes added 10 to 15 more minutes of the movie so we could see a little more unfolding. But again, that's just me nitpicking. But yeah, I did like this movie version a lot, and I know this movie is very beloved, and it introduced a lot of people to Winona Ryder and their affinity and love for Winona Ryder, so I won't take that away from them, that's for sure. Anyway, from the 1994 film version, we now go on to the 2017 television miniseries adaptation of Little Women. Now, the 2017 adaptation was a 3-hour, 3-part miniseries of Little Women done by BBC, Masterpiece, and PBS. The three of them co-produced this particular production. And I would say I would put this as probably one of my top 2 favorite adaptations of Little Women. I definitely really liked it a lot. I felt they really went more into detail about the characters, what the characters experienced and went through in the book and now on screen, of course. I give a shout out to Emily Watson for her performance as Marmee. I think she gave such a great performance in the miniseries here. I swear, someone just needs to give that woman an Emmy or an Oscar already. Just give that woman an award already for just being so marvelous, I swear. I remember watching her in Breaking the Waves, I'm like, wow, she's such a great actress, and she's great in about anything, so shout out to Emily Watson for your great work on this. Also, I give a shout out to Maya Hawke. I know this was one of her first acting roles she did on screen. Maya Hawke, as some of you may or may not know, she is the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, so I guess talent runs in that family. And now she was on season 3 of Stranger Things. But yeah, shout out to Maya Hawke. I think she gave a very good portrayal of Jo. When you watch her performance after having read the book, you feel like she definitely, in a lot of ways, is how Jo is described in the book. And Maya is Jo personified from the novel here to the miniseries. So I liked seeing Maya Hawke's performance here. So a shout out to you, Maya. I liked your performance. Thumbs up. Again, they remembered the parrot. Yay! They remembered the parrot. It was nice to see that parrot of Aunt March's here in this particular production. Angela Lansbury, she's always a welcoming presence in about anything she does, and good to see she's still kicking. This video will probably be dated at some point, I know it. But it was nice to see Angela Lansbury here as March. She's a welcoming presence and anything she pretty much does. But yeah, I'm glad they remembered the parrot, and it was nice to see the parrot. But yeah, I definitely consider this one of the best adaptations of Little Women. So I was very happy to see this one and happy to get through all 3 hours of it, I would say. Now we go on to the 2018 film version. They made 3 adaptations of Little Women in 3 years. Can you imagine? So I would say the 2018, this is a contemporary, up-to-date film version of the classic book. I would say, did this movie really need to get made? Did this movie really need to get made? It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I don't think, I get it that it was made to coincide with the book's 150-year anniversary of its initial publication, but it probably wasn't made for me, and I guess that's okay. It wasn't made for me, and that's okay. But it was nice to see Leah Thompson. She's a welcoming presence in about anything she does as Marmee here. It was nice to see her as Marmee. A modern-day, up-to-date Marmee, though, but that's okay. But again, these are my opinions, so if you take it the wrong way, I'm sorry. This is just how I feel. To each their own. No hard feelings. But anyway, from the 2018 film version, last but not least, we come to the grand finale. The 2019 film version, the one from last year, starring Saoirse Ronan as Jo. We have Florence Pugh as Amy. We have Emma Watson, Hermione from Harry Potter, as Meg. We have Laura Dern as Marmee. We have Eliza Scanlon, am I pronouncing her name right, as Beth. We have Meryl Streep as Aunt March. We have Timothée Chalamet as Laurie. And the cast, I really like this cast. I would consider this one of the best casted film versions of Little Women. One of the best. I'm not saying the best, but one of the best. But yeah, I really definitely like this movie a lot. Again, I'm probably a bit biased because I saw this film version in the theaters a few months ago. I literally finished reading the book about a couple days before seeing this particular film. But yeah, I definitely liked this film a lot. I thought Saoirse Ronan gave a very good performance. I wish she had won the Oscar in retrospect. It's too bad they didn't give her the Oscar. It's like crying out loud. She's been nominated 4 times. Just give her that bleeping Oscar already. But of course, they had to give it to Renee Zellweger for Judy. Anyway, I digress here. But yeah, another thing that struck me about this film adaptation of Little Women is I did like Florence Pugh's performance here as Amy. In most adaptations of Amy, we feel like Amy, we don't like her, she's a spoiled brat. But in this film adaptation, we get to see her develop evolve and mature from a girl to a young woman. And I thought that was very beautiful and very lovely to see, I would say. And I feel Florence Pugh's performance was great, especially the one scene where she's talking about, you know, how she feels trapped in her time period. She feels trapped in her gender. How it doesn't matter if she has kids, they're under her husband's name. Whatever she does feels like it's under her husband's name. It was very interesting and very thought-provoking to think about in retrospect after watching this film. But yeah, I definitely really like this film version a lot. I know the ending took a lot of people by surprise with how they kind of switched things around and kind of gave a new twist to this classic story, but that's alright, you know? I liked Greta Gerwig's work here. I liked her previous film that she did before Little Women called Lady Bird. So I was looking forward to seeing this movie just shortly after finishing the book, and I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I made this video for you all. So in the comments section, go ahead and write down in the comments section, do you have a particular favorite film adaptation of Little Women? Is there any film adaptations you dislike? Who's your favorite interpretation or portrayal of a specific character in Little Women? Are there any favorite performances that you like from any of the film or television adaptations? Let me know in the comments section. Is there any adaptations that you felt faithfully portray the novel from the page onto the screen? Let me know in the comment section. I'd like to hear and read about it from all of you. So that is all for the video today. I wanted to give my insight and give my opinions on all these different adaptations that I watched of Little Women. I can't believe I got through all of them, but I did, and I'm glad I finally got through this video. You know, this video is several weeks overdue, I would say. So again, I thank you all very much for watching this video. This was my first film review video, so I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for going out of your way to watch this video for me. I thank you very much. I plan to watch more movies and more films and more TV shows and do more videos like these in the near future, so I thank you very much for coming by to watch this. I know the world is in a very hard, rough place right now with everything going on in the world right now, so I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day or out of your night to watch this particular video. So I thank you all very much. That is all for the video today. Be sure to tell me your thoughts on some of your favorite film adaptations of Little Women in the comments section. Also, remember to hit the like button and, if you haven't already, subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone!